Hello, everyone. Welcome back. How are you today? How were you yesterday? Today, we're going to talk about the simple past. Let's go. Here we have three examples with three different verb tenses. Let's see. I am an English teacher is the first example. I am, our verb in this sentence is verb to be, and the verb to be is in the simple present form. So the verb tense is the simple present. Sentence 2. I am teaching a class now. So actions that are taking place at the moment of speaking are the present continuous. So here we have verb to be, our auxiliary verb. Teaching is the main verb and it's fractionated ing, a class now, present continuous. Finally, in the sentence 3, we have I started teaching English in 2009. So in 2009, I taught my first English class. This sentence is the simple past. So here, the verb we used is the verb to start, but we have here ed. It's how the verbs end in the simple past. So when do we use simple past? The simple past tense we use when you have a specific past action. The action is fully complete in the past and in a specific time of the past, okay? The action didn't start in the past and continues in the present. No. The action is over. It's totally in the past, all right? This is the situation we use it. So I have my example back here. I started teaching English in 2009. So to start doing something is different from continue doing something. You can think, teacher, you're still teaching English. So something started in the past and continues today. Yes, the action of teaching, but not the action of starting. So start is my main verb here, okay? So the verb start is in the past. The focus is when I start the action. Now, remember that in simple present we use the auxiliary verb do and does to make questions and negative sentences. So here we are going to do the same, but now with one difference. The auxiliary verb is not do and does anymore. What we have now is the auxiliary did. So let's see how the sentences are. All right, so we have here now our negative and our interrogative sentence using did, the auxiliary verb. First of all, let's see the negative. I didn't start teaching English in 2009. I didn't start. See, the affirmative sentence here. Look at the verb. I started. So I had the past structure in the main verb here because I didn't have the auxiliary verb. Now, the auxiliary verb is in the past. So my main verb is in the basic form. I don't change the main verb when I use the auxiliary verb. It's the same idea from the present simple with the s of the third person. So I didn't start teaching English in 2009. Didn't is the same as did not. So didn't is the contracted form. So you can use either the contracted or the other form. But remember, when you write something formal, you don't use the contracted form. All right? So let's go to the question now. I decided to change the subject of the question so that you can see that it's not important if you have I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. The auxiliary verb is equal for all the persons because now it's not the present simple anymore. Now it's the simple past. So, did she start teaching English in 2009? Or did I start? Did you start? So it doesn't matter who is the subject. I always have auxiliary verb and the main verb in the basic form. Remember the structure. When you have a negative sentence, subject, auxiliary verb plus not, main verb in the basic form. When you have a question, you have the auxiliary verb, then the subject, then the main verb on the basic form. Okay? And also, the same rule we saw for the present simple is still valid here for the past simple. Verb to be doesn't take auxiliary verbs. Okay? Let's see an example. So here they are, our three examples using the verb to be. The first one is affirmative, the second one is negative, and the third one is interrogative. So, I was home yesterday evening. We have the subject, verb to be, and the rest of the sentence. The second example, I changed the subject. So you can see the difference in the verb to be in the past, okay? She was not home yesterday evening is our negative example. So we have the subject, verb to be plus not. Wasn't is the contracted form of was not. Remember that, right? Finally, were you home yesterday evening is my question. So here you have an inversion. When you have a question, you invert the affirmative structure. So I was I? You were you? Were you is my question. Was in the first sentence, was in the second sentence, and were in the third sentence are all forms of the verb to be in the past. So if you have the subject I, he, she, and it, you have to use was. If you have you, we, or they, you use were for the verb to be in the past. All right? What students think is the most complicated thing about the simple past is memorizing which verbs are regular and which verbs are irregular. The regular verbs in English, they finish in ed in the simple past. Very simple. However, we have many important verbs, and these important verbs are irregular, which means we don't have a rule for the way how they end in the simple past. So what do we do? What's important? It's important that we memorize these verbs because it's the only way. They have the possibility of being grouped because some verbs have similar changes in the simple past, but it doesn't have a logic, it doesn't have a why, a reason why they change the way they change. So the only thing we can do is to memorize them. So the regular verbs, sometimes we have to adjust the verb before we put the ed in the end. Those are the spelling rules for adding ed in the end. So let's see some of them. Here's what we should do if you have any of these situations before adding the ed of the simple past. So, if you have any verbs ending consonant plus y, you should remove the y and then add I, E, D. For example, cry, cried, try, tried. Okay? Only if you have consonant plus y. If you have, for example, a vowel plus y, for example, the verb play, play, you shouldn't remove the y. You just say played, you keep the y. Okay? If you have a verb ending in e, you don't add another e before the d. You just add the d. Add only d. For example, hope, hoped. If you have a verb that ends in a consonant, vowel, consonant, and the final syllable is stressed, double the last consonant and add ed. For example, stop. This word, this verb has only one syllable and it finishes consonant, vowel, consonant. So you double either way. It doesn't matter which one is stressed. You only have one, so it must be stressed. You put ed, double the p, and add ed. Now, regret. Regret. We have a two-syllable word, and the stress is gret. Regret. We don't say regret. We say regret. So this is the stress, okay? In this case, R is a consonant, E is a vowel, T is a consonant. So regret, regret. You double the T before you add ed. These are the rules for spelling when you're writing. When you speak, it doesn't make any sense to remember how you must write a word. So this is just for writing, all right? To speak, you can just speak. Don't be afraid of anything. Now, we're going to go to our material and see what the author tells us about the simple past today. Let's go. Here we are, Unit 5, Past Simple. I did. Section A. Study this example. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was an Austrian musician and composer. He lived from 1756 to 1791. He started composing at the age of 5 and wrote more than 600 pieces of music. He was only 35 years old when he died. Lived, started, wrote, was, and died are all past simple. So here we have actions concluded in the past in a very specific moment of the past. This is the past simple. Section B. Very often, the past simple ends in ed, regular verbs. Let's read the examples together. I work in a travel agency now. Before that, I worked in a department store. We invited them to our party, but they decided not to come. The police stopped me on my way home last night. Laura passed her exam because she studied very hard. So, if you have the material there with you, the Appendix 6 is pages 298 and 299. You can see the same rules we just saw in the video for spelling some specific verbs. So, but many verbs are irregular. The past simple does not end in ed. For example, write The simple past is wrote. Mozart wrote more than 600 pieces of music. The past of see is saw. We saw Tanya in town a few days ago. The past of go is went. I went to the cinema 3 times last week. And the past of shut is shut. It was cold, so I shut the window. Shut is similar to close, okay, if you don't understand what it means. So these are some examples of irregular verbs. These are verbs you have to memorize, okay, because they are different for the usual. And the usual is the ed, okay? It's not the verb to keep the same basic form. Now let's go to section C. In questions and negatives, we use did, didn't, plus infinitive. Enjoy, see, go, etc. So, what the author is saying here is that we use the past structure in the auxiliary verb, not in the main verb. For example, let's read along. Did you go out last night? Yes, I went to the cinema, but I didn't enjoy the film much. Example 2. When did Mr. Thomas die? About 10 years ago. The third example. They didn't invite us to the party, so we didn't go. And the last one. Did you have time to do the shopping? No, I didn't. Alright? In the following examples, do is the main verb in the sentence. So you have did do or didn't do. This is possible in English. You can use the same verb twice in a sentence with different functions because the first did is the auxiliary verb and the second did is the second do, is the main verb. So, what did you do at the weekend? Not what did you at the weekend. I didn't do anything. Not I didn't anything. You must repeat the verb, okay? Finally, the past of be, am is are, is, was, were. For I, he, she, it, was, wasn't, and for we, you, they, were, weren't, okay? Note that we do not use did in negatives and questions with was, were. So that's what we've just discussed in our video. If you have verb to be, do not use auxiliary verb, alright? Not in simple present, not in simple past. For example, let's read along. I was angry because they were late. Was the weather good when you were on holiday? They weren't able to come because they were so busy. Did you go out last night or were you too tired? Okay, everyone, so this is the past simple or simple past. It's about the past and the past only. Keep that in mind, okay? Do you have any questions? Is there anything you couldn't understand well? Leave a comment and let me help you, okay? Thank you for coming with me this one more class, and I'll see you again the next class, okay? Bye-bye.